HB Holmes with your HBTV Life Network, and we're here live at Southeastern University, and we're here at a annual program. It seems as if it's the first annual program. And tell me a little bit about yourself and who's brought all this together in regards to trying to address the issues concerning fatherhood.
I sure will. Well, I'm Dr. Kenneth Stevens. I chair the Human Service Department at Southeastern University. This was brought together by myself and my department. It is a personal mission for me. I was raised without my biological father, and then as time went on, I began to see more and more young men who were raised absent their biological fathers. So it had been really put heavy on my heart to begin to try to make a difference in that, if not nationally, at least locally here in Polk County. So came up with the idea of Father, where are you? That's the question, just single fathers. That question is for each individual father. Father, where are you? From M.I.A. to A.I.M. That's from missing, invisible, and absent to available, involved, and making a difference. And that's the theme, is to get with fathers who have been absent out of their children's lives and help them bridge that gap so they can become more active, more available, and make a difference in their child's life. Because frankly, without that, especially the young men, they don't stand an even chance of being productive, because the research shows that absent fathers in the homes, the families are more likely to be poor, more likely to be on drugs. All of these various negative indicators are there when the father is absent from the home.
Now, this initiative, is it based primarily for Southeastern University students, or is this for the community or for this region?
No, it's for the region. It's for, we want this thing to go, we want it to go nationally. It's not only a social problem. That's where Southeastern comes in, but it's an economic problem, and it's nationwide, it's worldwide. When fathers are absent from the home, it has a tremendous impact locally, statewide, and nationally on the family and on our government.
Most recently we're dealing across the nation with a lot of different issues with, the Eric Gardner, the Trayvon Martin, and now the incident that just recently occurred in Boston. A lot of times we find that a lot of this is a targeting of the African American males, and I think a program like this, where do you see yourself as an institution, how that you're going to impact this local city, this region, in regards to addressing some of these issues?
And I'm glad you asked that, because that's what this is about. It is about bringing the fathers back into the picture. Fathers are authority figure in the lives of their children and their sons, and especially these young men. And it begins there, where that authority is instilled in those young men. Yeah, we have a serious issue that's going on across this country with our young, especially our young black males being I don't want to say targeted, but the research, or the what's the word I'm looking for?
I think a lot of them have been affected. A lot of them, and a lot of times, whether and sometimes some people will say, it's not good for you to run from the police, and a lot of things have different happened. A lot of times, even I have a young African American male that I'm raising that's in college now, and I have to teach him the various things, how to handle certain things when he finds himself in the possession of potentially the law enforcement, so that he doesn't get himself potentially in a situation like we have seen so many of our young African American males. Statistically, here in Polk County, in this region, do you have any numbers in regards to the number of black males that we have incarcerated? Because I know it's an epidemic across the nation that we have more African American males that are incarcerated than we do in college.
Right. And I don't have those numbers, especially for Florida or Polk County. I do know statistically we are the majority that are incarcerated, and that's what I would tell you. Some of the research that I've done is that it said, I believe it was 75% of those fathers 75% of those men who are incarcerated was raised without their fathers. That's 75%. We're talking African Americans. So that is a serious issue. And I think those systemic things systemically comes from the father being absent from the home, being there as that authority figure, showing those young men how to be men. Because what we have to understand is, if I'm not there to show, and I have a son, he's an attorney, and he grew up, with me from 8 years old on, and I had to show him how to be respectful, not only to me as a father, but to other authority figures out there, and then teach him how to interact with the police. And he had an incident. I remember being here when he was here in law school. He had a little rap thing he was doing. He was selling CDs outside a local dance club, and the police came up and told him, you can't do that. And he sort of challenged it, and the police basically told him, look, either you give me the CDs and I throw them away, or I could take you to jail. And he ended up giving him the CDs, and he told me about that encounter, and I go, that's not the way he gave you an option. You should have been like, sir, I'm sorry, I didn't know I was doing this, or I was breaking the law, so you take these and you get rid of these and then move on. You don't want to challenge that. That's right.
Well, we're here live again at Southeastern University, and we're going from M.I.A. to A.I.M.
That's right.
AIM.
And I just want to say this. We have an AIM promise by Father's Day of this year. I think it's June 21st, I believe. By Father's Day, we're trying to have 4,000 men in Polk County, 4,000 men in Polk County to take the AIM promise. And you will talk more about the AIM promise. We have the website where you can go in and sign the AIM promise to say I promise to be more available in my son's life. I promise to be more involved, and I promise to make a difference. The AIM promise. Stay tuned for more.
Okay, again, here at Southeastern University, we're getting ready to go live to the upcoming event. The people are gathering. Fathers are coming from all over this region. Local faith-based people are coming. Business people are coming, because there is an investment that needs to be made in our local children. And we believe that the investment that we make today will pay off tomorrow. Let's aim.
Go ahead, Go ahead,
anything that's happened to us because our fathers disappeared on us is our fault. We didn't do anything. We didn't deserve it. They did things wrong, and we suffer the consequences.
Thank you so much, Judge. Thank you. Now I want to bring up, we're going to ask Ken Riley to chime in on this. A lot of times, if you know the history of Ken Riley, NFL, I call him an NFL great football player, NFL coach, college coach, growing up. A lot of times we see young men who grow up without their father, and then the minute they make it to the big league, make it to the NFL, make it to the NBA, you get that knock, and father's looking for you. I don't know if that happened to you or not, Ken, but if you could expound on just that, if that did happen, or it's something similar to that.
Well, quite naturally, once you get up and you start doing well, especially in athletics, your father would come in. I remember we playing a high school game, Spark Championship against Lake Wales, and after the game I could hear people say, that my father saying, "That's my son, that's my boy." That's typical of a lot of young men when you have that absent. One of the things that I wanted to talk about is the fact that we said you can be there and still be absent. And there are a lot of guys that I coach with, professional people, who've lost their son, especially while you coach, because you are really the father of a lot of young men. And a lot of times, your child is being neglected. I remember I was coaching with the Packers. My son was there, water boy, but he wasn't really getting my attention. I was out doing some other things, even in college. So that's a true statement in how you reconnect. And one of the things that my son, even now, we're probably closer now than when I was coaching, because I'm retired and we do a whole lot of things together. But you're trying to make a living, you're busy, and you're doing your thing. And I know some guys professionally who have lost their children because of that. So that's a good point. You can be there but still absent. So you have to be careful about your profession and how it really relates to your children and your family.
Thank you, brother. Oh, okay, Brian, I'm going to ask you the same question. When you did see your father, what was it that was there anything you were looking for in particular?
I just basically wanted to, touch back with him, because I missed him for many years, and the only time I got to see him is that I was bad at home and I ended up on his doorstep. There's times I ended up on his doorstep, he wasn't at home, he was at work. And when I did get out and I did see my father, he was, in stages of Alzheimer's. So, it was hard to talk with him because, he didn't know who you were. And then he had his good days, and those are the times that I took time to talk to him and let him know that, I didn't love him any less for what he did, and, I understood. And, and it's just one of them things where you just have to grow with it, forgive.
Thank you, Brian. I'm going to ask Pastor Pickett also, because you were raised by your grandmother, but your grandfather reconnected with your father. If you can tell us a little bit about that. His grandmother, which we call her Mother Pickett, is how old? She's 106 years old and still living today. Isn't that something? Go ahead, Pastor, if you want to.
Yeah, it was just reconnecting with him was good. I think I was looking for affirmation from a father. I was looking for support. In some ways, I was looking for protection. And so it was just good when I had an opportunity to connect with him and be around and be with him.
Thank you, Pastor. Just looking at a few more issues. Broken promises. We find out a lot. I know it's interesting. I had never met my father, but I did talk to him for the first time when I was 18 years old. I was graduating from high school. I called him about a week or so before that and told him I was graduating. Got his number from his sister and they said, hey, I'm graduating, no drugs, no jail, opportunity to go to college and do some things. You gotta be there. He said he was gonna be there, but then you know what? I graduated, never showed up. Never showed up. And then when I talked to him after that, he began to try to tell me, it's like with Jared, some reasoning why, and I just blanked everything out because nothing he said mattered after that. Excuses. That's what we have, and then generationally passed down. This is one of the biggest things we have. If you look at, we were talking earlier, statistics will show you, in our prison system, 75% of the men in prison did not have their fathers in their lives. 75% of those in prison those are some powerful, powerful stats. What's the solution, Dr. Stevens? Becoming more available and active in your children's life, more involved in making a difference. The A.I.M. And we're going to talk more and more about the A.I.M. But for now, what I'm going to do is just open the floor. We're going to open some discussion. We have mics on each side. The ushers will bring you the mic. The first question is, how does it happen that fathers disconnect or never connect with their sons? And this is where you get to be a part of that. If you have a story, you want to tell your story, you can just raise your hand and stand up. But how is it? How is it something so beautiful that God, that God was a part of creating that you never connect with or you disconnect? I can tell you an incident. I was counseling a young man from a pastoral perspective. He is 20 years old. He's been going to visit his father. His mother got divorced, and he's been going to visit his father just for about 8 years. He's 20 now. Well, father remarried, adopted some children, and when he came up 2 years ago for the last time, he came up and his father told him, he said, Dr. Stevens, they were just acting a little strange, and he told him, we have a new family now. And so I don't think it'll be wise or a good idea for you to come up here anymore. 18 years old, and you're telling your son, your biological son, that you have a new family, and you don't think it's a good idea because it confuses the kids. So he's struggling with that because he hasn't seen his father. He had known the kids, hadn't seen them in 2 years. How does that happen?
We're here back live at the Southeastern University, and we have one of the volunteer students that's here from Africa, from Togo. Could you tell our viewing audience your name?
My name is M.I.A. I'm from Togo, born and raised in Togo, and I came here in 2010 for my school, my education.
Wow. What, how did you hear about Southeastern University way in Togo?
I first came to Georgia, Atlanta, and after graduating with my undergrad, my associate degree in political science, a friend of mine talked to me about Southeastern University. I came over to take a look at it. I fell in love with it. The coach of Southeastern University tennis team, Coach Bill May, offered me a scholarship, and I ended up coming here.
Wow, I do a little bit of traveling myself as the president and CEO of the African Digital Network, so I love Africa. I often tell people that I'm an African American. And so here from Togo, you're volunteering here at this event. Why do you think it's important that we reach out and try to address the issues concerning our males in today's society?
I think it's really important for fathers and male figures to be in their children's life, because the role of a father in his daughter or son's life is really important. When the son or the daughter later on grows up and enter the society just for good manners, so ethical behaviors, and kind of have a good leadership in the society. And I think it's important for our fathers and our male figures to be in our lives, because we need them to be that father that shows that he cares about us and then that we matter to them. And in the long run, especially for girls, when they grow up, they start looking for that father figure to take that take that position or that part in their lives. And that's when we really see kids, especially girls, looking for attention at the wrong places, and guys start involving themselves in the wrong activities because they didn't have a father figure in their life kind of give them the right or tell them the right thing to do.
That guidance that is needed, that structure. Oftentimes when I've traveled to Africa, I've been traveling there for the last 4, 5, 6 years, and one of the things I see is that the fathers do take a major role in Africa, and there's a sense of absenteeism in America. Why do you think that is?
Coming from Africa is a must. A father must be in the children's life. So no matter where you are, no matter what kind of job you have, you need to be in your child's life. So we don't give any excuses when it comes to being in your son or your daughter's life in Africa. But here it's more like, I've noticed fathers kind of run away from their responsibilities. They don't want to take care of the kid because they don't have the income, or the woman decide to have the child on their own, and the father kind of like running away from the situation. So this is kind of position where I think the society in itself has to be more aware of the impact that the father has in their lives. So I think fathers here have to start thinking about investing in their kids instead of thinking about bringing the financial means to take care of their kids. It's more about being there, not necessarily invest or giving them the money or bringing the financial support.
Wonderful. Again, we're here live at Southeastern University. We're getting ready to go live into the program. We want you to stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Grandfather reconnected with your father. If you can tell us a little bit about that. His grandmother, which we call her Mother Pickett, is how old? She's 106 years old and still living today. Isn't that something? Go ahead, Pastor, if you want to.
Yeah, it was just reconnecting with him was good. I think I was looking for affirmation from a father. I was looking for support. In some ways, I was looking for protection. And so it was just good when I had an opportunity to connect with him and be around and be with him.
Thank you, Pastor. Just looking at a few more issues. Broken promises. We find out a lot. I know it's interesting. I had never met my father, but I did talk to him for the first time when I was 18 years old. I was graduating from high school. I called him about a week or so before that and told him I was graduating. Got his number from his sister, and they said, hey, I'm graduating, no drugs, no jail, opportunity to go to college and do some things. Are you gonna be there? He said he was gonna be there, but then you know what? The day I graduated, never showed up. Never showed up. And then when I talked to him after that, he began to try to tell me, it's like with Jared, some reasoning why, and I just blanked everything out because nothing he said mattered after that. Excuses. That's what we have, and then generationally passed down. This is one of the biggest things we have. If you look at, we were talking earlier, statistics will show you, in our prison system, 75% of the men in prison did not have their fathers in their lives. 75% of those in prison those are some powerful stats. What's the solution, Dr. Stevens? Becoming more available and active in your children's life, more involved and making a difference. The A.I.M. And we're going to talk more and more about the A.I.M. But for now, what I'm going to do is just open the floor. We're going to open some discussion. We have mics on each side. The ushers will bring you the mic. The first question is, how does it happen that fathers disconnect or never connect with their sons? And this is where you get to be a part of that. If you have a story, you want to tell your story, you can just raise your hand and stand up. But how is it? How is it something so beautiful that God, that God was a part of creating that you never connect with or you disconnect? I can tell you an incident. I was counseling a young man from a pastoral perspective. He is 20 years old. He's been going to visit his father. His mother got divorced, and he's been going to visit his father just for about 8 years. He's 20 now. Well, father remarried, adopted some children, and when he came up 2 years ago for the last time, he came up and his father told him, he said, Dr. Stevens, they were just acting a little strange, and he told him, we have a new family now. And so I don't think it'll be wise or a good idea for you to come up here anymore. 18 years old, and you're telling your son, your biological son, that you have a new family, and you don't think it's a good idea because it confuses the kids. So and he's struggling with that because he hasn't seen his father. He had known the kids, hadn't seen them in 2 years. How does that happen?
We're here live back at the Southeastern University event on fatherhood, and we have one of the local entrepreneurs, businessmen in our community, Jairus Rutherford from, is it Second to None?
Second to None Barbershop and Skate Supply.
What brings you out today?
I came out to show some support, and I like what Dr. Stevens is doing, and, came out to show some support. Yeah. Looking at the plight of our young males in today's society, you as a barber have a lot of men come through your establishment. How long have you been in business, first of all? I've been in business for 8 years.
For about 8 years. So I was thinking over thousands of individuals that come, whether being in your chair or the chairs that you're neighboring with. Tell us some of the things that you see facing our young men today.
A lot of young men now need leaders, someone to follow, someone to mentor. That seems like to be the problem right now. A lot of them, they look at some of the wrong things and they glorify it, which I came here because it's a lot of men that's inspirable, so I came so I can actually come check this out and be able to be a part of it so I can help inspire young men as I learn myself.
And was it someone that potentially mentored you to get to where you are today in life? How did you get from, the vision to your reality?
Actually, yes, my father. And plus, I wanted more out of life than just settling for something small, so, yeah.
And I know that looking in Polk County, we see a lot of things happening in today. We have gang violence. We have the local law enforcement trying to partner with the local community and the faith-based community to try to combat some of these issues. How do you think that local business people like yourself in the local community can get involved?
They need to reach out to the kids, reach out, be in the community more. So then the kids and stuff, they'll know who to come to for help when they need it, to give them the guidance.
Yeah. And I know as a barber, I would just think, I look at the barber shop and the beauty salons in our African American community is kind of one of the last mainstays that we have. And a lot of times I think that you hear a lot of problems, you hear a lot of hype, a lot of things going on in our community. What are some of the things that you've been able to instill or speak into the lives of some of the young men that sat in your barber chair?
Just have faith and believe.
Again, we're here live on HBTV Life Network at Southeastern University, and we're daring to aim.